Hey guys, so I finally came up with another clean army story, and this has to do with how I got my left arm ripped off, reattached, how a tourniquet saved my life, and how you should never give up the will to live. So I went to basic training back in the 90s at Fort Benning, Georgia. We had this one drill sergeant. The guy's name was Drill Sergeant Ricks. And this guy used to talk like this. The first time I ever heard him speak, I think we were getting ready for church services, and he had everyone line up at the position of attention and take our dog tags out. And he was looking at each dog tag, going down the line, going, Catholic, Presbyterian, Judaish, Episcopal. I had never heard anyone talk like that, and he would add or delete random syllables from words. It was the weirdest darn thing. He was also a highly professional guy, and he was a teacher, not a yeller. In fact, later on in my career, when I became an infantry instructor, it was during the war in Iraq, and people I was training were going to go to Iraq, and some of them were going to get killed. So I always took the approach of teaching rather than yelling at my trainees. Oh, this guy, Sergeant Ricks, he was a big black guy, dude, just jacked. And he was all tabbed out, airborne ranger, he had gone to Pathfinder school. He had been in Grenada, he had been in Panama, he had been in the first Gulf War. You can hear the ambulances, welcome to the city. Well, so this guy, we all looked up to him. We all just thought he was like a god, But that voice of his, okay, Poppets, today we gonna play a little game. I likes to call it, kill the Poppet. Front in rest position. Poop. So he took a liking to me. He used to he went and got like a book because my last name is McBeth, and so he went and got like a book of Shakespeare's plays, like a little mini book. I think it was Hamlet and a couple of sonnets, and I had to carry around this book. And whenever he was bored, like we're at the rifle range or waiting for something to happen or we're waiting for chow to open, he'd go, Macbeth, where's Shakespeare at? I wants to hear a sonnet. I'd have to take out the book, I'd start reading the sonnet to him, or doing the play. And he'd be over there going, Macbeth, you so funny. I don't like white people. I make an exception for you. Well, one day we were learning how to practicing clearing our weapons or clearing a malfunction from our weapons. It's this thing called sports: slap, pull, observe, release, tap, shoot. And normally after you use any kind of ammunition, live or blank, the drill sergeants will check you to make sure you don't have any ammunition or blanks on you and your weapon is cleared. Well, for some reason, the drill sergeants didn't do that, or maybe one of them forgot one person or something. But this one guy fired a blank round out of his rifle as we were turning our rifles in. Because before you turn your weapon into the armory, you pull the trigger. We're turning our weapons in, click, turn it in, click, turn it in. Echoing, through the not the arms room, but it was almost like a portico. The barracks were built on top of like an overhang. It echoed through there, so loud. I'll tell you, the two loudest sounds in the world are a click when there should have been a bang, and a bang when there should have been a click. And I remember this private, he's standing there with the rifle, like, it had just come alive in his hands. Let me tell you something. The drill sergeants didn't just punish him. They punished all of us. Every single one of us. And it was hell. It was the worst punishment I had ever had. Basically, we had to do exercises. They called it PTing, and they would make us do push-ups and sit-ups and flutter kicks. I want to say they probably exercised us for a good 2 hours. And it was the worst thing I had ever, like toward the end, the drill sergeants were getting creative. They were saying like, okay, go upstairs into the bay, get a cleaning rod, come back down. Like they're running up the stairs, bumping into each other. We got to get a cleaning rod from our cleaning kit, come back down, and then we'd have to do push-ups. It was crazy. It was torture. It was almost inhumane. And I remember at one point I decided I was going to quit. I decided I didn't want to be in the Army anymore. Like this, if it's like this, I can't do it. I want to quit. I was about ready to stand up and say I refuse to train. And I don't know if Sergeant Rick saw me or maybe he was saying it to everyone. But I was on the ground doing flutter kicks. My legs are in the air and kicking my legs and doing the flutter kicks. And Drill Sergeant Rex comes up to me and his hat, his round brown, goes like a millimeter from my face, his little Drill Sergeant hat. And he says to me, "Private McBeth, never give up the will to live." And I didn't. I didn't quit. I graduated. And I went on to become a mediocre soldier with a mediocre career. I did 20 years in the military, infantry. I retired in 2014. Never got a scratch. We're on deployments. I never even got a paper cut. Hurt my back once, but that was in training. I get out of the military. I go from 180 pounds to 260 pounds in about 6 months. I look at myself in the mirror one day and go, whoa, what the hell happened? I better start running again. So I started doing triathlon. I start running again. Well, one day I'm out doing a bike ride. I'm like way out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm trying to make this kind of like hairpin turn, and I take it too fast. I take it too fast, and I'm still in arrow, I thought I could take it arrow, hunch down, and I couldn't. And I realized I'm headed right toward like a light pole. And it was this square light pole, so the edge was sharp. And I think at the last moment I lifted my arm up like that. That light pole hit my arm right here. Cut my arm off. It was still hanging by like a couple of tendons or whatever, skin. And I wrecked my bike. And I remember sitting there, and I remember thinking, all right, I've got about 15 seconds before loss of blood causes me to go unconscious, and then I'm gonna die. And I think of my drill sergeant, never give up the will to live. Well, I had a Brooks bike jacket. I was able to wrap that around the injury, and I used a wrench that was in my bike kit to make a tourniquet. They don't tell you how much it hurts. They teach you how to make a tourniquet to stop blood loss. They don't tell you how much it hurts. Okay, stop the bleeding. Now what? I take my phone out, and I look, I don't have a signal. I'm in a dead zone. And I think, all right, sooner or later someone's got to come by, right? A cyclist, someone. If I stay here, if I wait, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna go into shock or something, I'm gonna die. I can't hope that a jogger or a cyclist comes along to help me. I need to get up and I need to get help. So I picked up my arm in my right hand and I get up and I start walking with my arm. It's still attached, but wrap hanging out of it, bones sticking out. And I'm walking. And I walk, and probably every 200 yards or so, I sit down and I put my arm down and I reach into my pocket, I find my phone, and I check for a signal. If I don't have it, put it back in, I stand back up again, grab my arm, and I keep walking. Eventually I got a signal. And I call the ambulance. I call 911, which in America is our emergency services number. The ambulance comes and they can't find me. So I have to go to the ambulance. So I have to walk to the ambulance and find the ambulance. In fact, the paramedic who was at the ambulance didn't even come to me with the gurney. He had me get inside the ambulance. Like, what kind of service is this? Well, he hits every single bump on the way to the hospital. You know, like I'm in the ambulance, like, Like, get into the hospital. They start bringing in. I don't see a doctor yet. I get admitted into the emergency room. I don't really remember what they did after that. I think I was kind of out of it, but I very distinctly remember this head nurse coming in with student nurses. She was coming in, the student nurse would take a look at my injury. And then she would leave with, the head nurse would leave with her student nurse and come in with another student nurse. And I guess they were teaching them, like, hey, this is what a traumatic amputation looks like. I guess they didn't get a lot of them, right? Finally, the head nurse comes in with this one student nurse. This one student nurse was talkative. She asked me, how did this happen? And I told her, well, I wrecked my bike. I hit this pillar, it sliced my arm off. She asked me where. I told her where. She's like, you walked from there? I'm like, I had to. And she goes, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I thought back to my drill sergeant. And I said, yes, you would. Never give up the will to live. So, they sewed it back on. I went to physical therapy for like a year. It's better now. But, I mean, I'm still in pain sometimes, and it's still hard to turn my arm that way. But never give up the will to live. So, thank you, Sergeant Ricks, for that one piece of advice. And if you want to learn more about first aid, right after this, there is a video from RIA First Aid. They're selling a first aid kit that I've actually used and I own. And if you use the code Ryan at checkout, you'll get 15% off. So stick around for that video next. It's actually got a lot of good information in it. And thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm JD with RIA First Aid. We're gonna go over a medium first aid kit, and this is what it looks like. Every one of our kits here has a glass breaker on the outside. We have a carabiner so you can hook it up to the back of one of your seat headrests in the car. It's always in the same place. And all these bags tear open so you can see almost everything right away. That's really important to me, that you can see what you have. You don't have to go digging for it. First up in our kit, we have two different types of tourniquets. We have a cat tourniquet and a SWAT T. This is designed for adults. This is designed for dogs, kids, and adults. This is a little bit slower. This is the gold standard right now. This does not have to come out of its wrapper. It has a bunch of notches on the outside. You can just tear them off. This has to come out of its wrapper. If you buy this tourniquet from us, one of our kits, or from anywhere else, make sure you take your cat tourniquet out of the wrapper. It doesn't have to be sterile. It's not going to be sterile. It goes on the outside of the body, but this wrapper will slow you down. We also have two pairs of gloves. We have two different types of gauze. This is combat gauze. This is compressed down, vacuum sealed. It's 4 yards long. This will stop bleeding up to 5 times faster. We also have normal gauze that you can use on a burn or anything else, and this is also 4 yards. We have a trauma dressing, an ETD from North American Rescue. These are fantastic. We have a small pair of medical shears, and we went with the Hyphen Vent chest seal. These are the compact version, so they can fit almost anywhere on any size body. We have a 6-inch chem light, and we have 2 different types of steri strips. A little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. These replace butterfly bandages that we used to use, and they work great. And sometimes I'll use them instead of a Band-Aid because they stick so well. We have a 7-pack of medications. These are not kid safe, so make sure you know where they are. There's 3 in here for pain medication. There's electrolytes. There's a ton of good things in here. We also have a 5-pack of Band-Aids, and we have a small Celox hemostatic granules. This you pour out, it's like a sugar packet on a bleed you just can't stop, and this stops a lot of stubborn bleeds. We have a Neosporin to go pain reliever spray. These are really handy. The glass breaker and seatbelt cutter I mentioned earlier. This is the glass breaker. This is the seatbelt cutter. We have 2 different types of tape, medical and duct tape, CPR mask, a 3-pack of gels and creams. The most important of them is a burn gel packet. We have a small metal American-made tweezer, and we have a Soul small emergency blanket. This is their small blanket, and it'll still fit 2 people. All of this is inside our medium first aid kit. Let us help you pick the best professional grade first aid kit for you and your family. Follow us at riafirstaid.com and follow our socials for quick tips.